My favorite Enterprise episode broke Star Trek canon, and I don't care. Star Trek Enterprise never got the love it deserved during its original run. Arriving at a time when franchise fatigue had begun to set in and struggling to define itself in a rapidly changing TV landscape, the show often gets overlooked when discussing the golden episodes of the Trek legacy. But for me, Enterprise did something bold, something messy, flawed, and wildly entertaining. And it all culminated in the Season 4 two-parter, In a Mirror Darkly. Yes, it completely broke canon. It trampled all over continuity and unapologetically reimagined a classic era in a way that left original series purists clutching their tricorders in horror. And yet, I loved every second of it. Because sometimes, bending the rules can bring out the best in Star Trek. A wildly ambitious premise. Let's start with the basic concept. In a Mirror Darkly takes place entirely in the Mirror universe, the darker, more ruthless parallel dimension first introduced in the original series episode Mirror Mirror. But unlike previous Mirror episodes across DS9 and Discovery, this one does something audacious. It doesn't cut back to the Prime universe at all. There's no moral center. No good guys. Just the Terran Empire in all its backstabbing, fascist glory. We follow Mirror Archer, Mirror Topple, and a crew of treacherous versions of the characters we know as they discover a mysterious ship from the future, the Constitution-class USS Defiant, which had vanished in the original series episode, The Tholian Web. That's right, they tied the episode directly into a classic TOS storyline, lifted a ship from another era, and inserted it into a setting where canon never really applied. And somehow, it worked beautifully. The Defiant disaster that I loved. Let's get this out of the way. This episode breaks canon. Big time. In the Tholian Web, the USS Defiant disappears into interphasic space and is never recovered. Kirk and his crew never mention it being found. Later in Discovery, it's mentioned again in relation to the Mirror universe, meaning the timeline had been retconned to accommodate Enterprise's version of events. But Enterprise doesn't bother with any of that. It throws the Defiant back in time and into the Mirror universe, where it becomes a centerpiece of the Terran Empire's power struggle. The writers explain it away with some technobabble about spatial interfaces and temporal displacement, but let's be honest, they just wanted an excuse to show a shiny TOS ship being used like a war machine in a gritty Mirror universe bloodbath. And honestly, I'm glad they did. Because when you see that pristine, retro-futuristic Constitution-class starship towering over the NX-01 in dry dock, it's like watching history collide with imagination. It's fan service at its most indulgent, but also its most brilliant. Fan service? Yes, but not just that. In a Mirror Darkly isn't just a visual effects playground or a nostalgia-fueled love letter to the original series. It's also Enterprise finally letting loose. Scott Bakula gets to play Archer as a paranoid, power-hungry maniac. Jolene Blalock's Topple leads a failed rebellion. Hoshi Sato becomes a full-blown femme fatale, seducing her way to the Terran throne. The cast chews the scenery like they've been waiting 4 seasons for the chance to drop the heroic veneer and just go full evil. It's Shakespearean in its ambition, complete with betrayal, revenge, and a last-minute power grab that ends with Empress Sato declaring herself ruler of the Empire. None of it would work in the Prime timeline. It'd feel out of place, even absurd. But in the Mirror universe, it's pure chaotic brilliance. Visually stunning, canonically insane, one of the greatest joys of this episode is its production design. The moment we step aboard the Defiant, everything changes. The uniforms shift to 60s-style Starfleet tunics. The lighting changes. The sound effects, the classic TOS door swishes, the bridge chirps, the alert klaxons, are recreated with obsessive detail. It's like stepping into a time capsule, but one arm to the teeth and dipped in villainy. And yet, how do you explain the technology leap? The Terran Empire gets its hands on a Constitution-class ship a century before that technology should exist. Wouldn't this alter the balance of power in the Mirror universe dramatically? Wouldn't it affect events in Discovery or even DS9? The answer is, yes, it absolutely would. But the episode doesn't care. And neither do I. Sometimes, the experience of Star Trek is greater than the sum of its canon consistency. Sometimes it's about the thrill of seeing two pieces of the franchise's mythology slammed together in glorious, gleeful defiance of logic. Breaking the rules to save the franchise. Here's the thing about Enterprise. By the time Season 4 rolled around, the writing was on the wall. Ratings were low. The show was in trouble. But instead of playing it safe, the creative team, led by showrunner Manny Coto, decided to swing for the fences. Season 4 became a love letter to Star Trek continuity, arcs about the Vulcans, the Andorians, the origins of the Federation. And then, in a mirror, Darkly came along like a double middle finger to continuity purists and a gift to diehard fans who just wanted to feel the magic again. In a way, the episode did what Enterprise always struggled to do. It made the past feel exciting. It connected the dots between eras, even if it had to bend time, space, and narrative coherence to do so. It was reckless, yes, but it was also inspired. The joy of alternate universes. One reason the episode gets a pass from me is because of the mirror universe itself. It's always been a narrative sandbox, a space where Star Trek writers can play without consequence. Actions don't ripple into the prime timeline. Characters can die, betray each other, or turn into tyrants without breaking the story. So when Enterprise bends canon here, it's not just for spectacle, it's to explore what might have been if the rules didn't apply. That's valuable in a franchise that often gets trapped by its own lore. Episodes like this remind us why we fell in love with Star Trek in the first place. Not because every episode connects perfectly to the next, but because the franchise dares to ask, what if? Legacy over logic. To this day, In a Mirror, Darkly is one of the most talked about Enterprise episodes, and arguably one of the best mirror universe entries in all of Star Trek. It didn't just embrace fan service, it elevated it. And despite its blatant disregard for canonical consequences, it has been quietly absorbed into the larger mythos. Discovery references the Defiance journey. Fan debates rage on message boards. It's become part of the tapestry. That's the thing about great Star Trek. Even when it's messy, it sticks with you. And when it takes risks, real, ludicrous, continuity-destroying risks, it becomes unforgettable. Why I don't care that it broke canon? Because Star Trek isn't a history book. It's not a sacred, unchangeable document. It's a living, breathing universe built on imagination and reinvention. Canon is important, but it should never be a cage. Episodes like In a Mirror darkly remind us that Star Trek is also about fun, about possibility, about saying, screw it, let's let the Mirror crew fly a Constitution-class ship and reenact a space opera in retro glory. It's campy. It's bold. It's indulgent. And it's everything I want from Star Trek when it lets its hair down. So yeah, my favorite Enterprise episode broke canon. And I don't care. In fact, I celebrate it. Live long and embrace the chaos. Let's let the Mirror crew fly a Constitution-class ship and reenact a space opera in retro glory.
It's campy. It's bold. It's indulgent. And it's everything I want from Star Trek when it lets its hair